Welcome back. I am Pratap here. Today is 11th January 2025. In this video, I am going to generate different supply demand zone reports useful to the premium subscribers. Even before that, all of you please understand, we are providing complete free training on supply demand zone price action. You might be knowing the cost of the training is 8,000 US dollars, but I am providing the complete free training, including all the new strategies and the new variations I have developed in supply demand zone price action course. And you can access all the training lessons at our NeoStock YouTube channel. At our channel homepage, please click on the tab Posts. Some of you might be seeing the tab Community. Click on the tab. You get access to this post that talks about our free training course. This post is having a YouTube playlist link that will take you to all the training lessons. You just click on the link. Now we are into the supply demand zone price action course. Now you have access to all the training lessons. You just need to scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here, starting from lesson 1.1, all the training lessons are placed in an order. So please go through all these lessons one by one and strengthen your skills related to supply demand zone price action. I have also provided the link to our Telegram channel in this video description. Please join at our Telegram channel. It will be helpful to you each time when we release a new YouTube video or any other very important updates we will be providing at our Telegram channel. Now let's get into the report generation with the help of NeoStock Software Supply Demand Zone Top-Down Analysis Strategy Builder. Okay, let us start with the yearly time frame. Let us find the stocks closed inside the yearly demand zone. 3 stocks are filtered. Currently price closed in these yearly demand zones. I am giving you only few seconds time. That's why I request you pause the video, study the report, and then you can proceed further. In case if you does not understand this report structure, I request you complete our training lesson 21.1. In that video, you have explanation to about each and every column, their values and abbreviations. Okay, next, yearly time frame. Price closed inside yearly supply zone. We don't have any stocks. Okay, next time frame is half yearly. Stocks near half yearly demand zone. 1 stock is filtered. Next, stocks near half yearly supply zone. 1 stock is filtered. Next, stocks closed inside half yearly demand zone. 6 stocks are filtered. Next, price closed inside half yearly supply zones. 2 stocks are filtered. See, this link includes pierced zones. Those who wants to use pierced zone strategies that you learned in lesson 28 recently, you can make use of these pierced zones. That's why separately I am not filtering them. Rather than filtering all the pierced zones, probably filtering the pierced zones near the zone and closed inside the zone will be helpful to you. They will be providing you immediate trade opportunities. So from today onwards, I will be generating pierced zones only for stocks closed inside and near to the zones up to daily time frame. Lesson 28 concepts you can apply on them. Next time frame is quarterly. Stocks near quarterly demand zone. 2 stocks are filtered. Next quarterly time frame. Price closed stocks near quarterly supply zone. 3 stocks are filtered. Next quarterly time frame. Price closed inside the quarterly demand zone. First 22 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 30 stocks are filtered. Next quarterly time frame. Price closed inside the quarterly supply zone. 3 stocks are filtered. Next time frame is monthly. Stocks near monthly demand zone. 10 stocks are filtered. Next monthly time frame. Stocks near monthly supply zone. 1 stock is filtered. Next monthly time frame. Price closed inside the monthly demand zone. So first 21 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 45 stocks are filtered. This list includes pierced zones. Out of these 45, how many of these monthly demand zones are having EMA confluence? Let us filter. So I am adding EMA filter at monthly time frame. Monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence, and during EMA confluence, if monthly trend is sideways, it won't give any advantage. So that's why I'm selecting up or down. EMA confluence makes sense only in the trending market, not in the ranging, that is sideways market. So first 21 stocks having monthly demand zones with EMA confluence and price closed inside the zone. Scrolling the list down. So total 25 stocks are there. This includes some of the pierced zones. You can easily filter them by looking into the list. In the pierced column, any demand zones with pierced zones you can identify. Here none of the zones are having pierced count. Having EMA confluence. Earlier list without EMA confluence you have the zones. Those zones will be useful to you for finding the traps. Okay, next monthly time frame. Price closed inside the monthly supply zone. We got 8 stocks filtered. See here few stocks are pierced zones. If you look into the pierced count, you have to look into the supply zones only, because current price closed inside the supply zone. Why? What is the use of these reports? Price closed inside the zones. So immediate trade opportunities you get. when you fine tune the monthly zones, and if you plan for bullish or bearish trade setups on your own, because some of the people are not aware of price direction concepts, they manually do as per the concepts they already learned. For them, these reports are useful. And some people wants to plan for counter trend trade setup, trading against the trend. Currently, you didn't learn those concepts that you will be learning later. First, you need to get a very good understanding the existing system. First, trading in favor of the trend, you should get a very good grip. Without having those proper skills, if you are trading against the trend, you get a lot of losses. So that's why. But some of the people, supply demand zone traders, might be experts in trading against the trend. For them, these reports will be useful. Price closed inside the monthly zones or weekly zones or quarterly zones. It's up to them how they are preparing their own trade setups. But ready-made bullish and bearish trade setup anyway, I am generating later in this video for all the 3 income trades. Okay. Next, let me further filter based on the supply zone, monthly supply zones with monthly EMA confluence. At monthly time frame, monthly supply zone having monthly EMA confluence. And the trend on monthly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. Let's filter. So these 3 stocks supply zones are having EMA confluence. And all these 3 zones are pierced zones. They are pierced again and again, some of these zones, because of new order flows institutions created, as you learned in lesson 28. Okay, this is about monthly time frame. Next time frame is weekly. Price stocks near weekly demand zone. We got a big list. Okay. First 15 stocks out of 26. I am scrolling the list down. There are 26 stocks. Because the list is big, we can further reduce based on the EMA confluence. Generally, I don't apply this filter on this search stocks near, but because list is very big this time, let me further reduce based on EMA confluence. Weekly time frame, weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence, and the trend on the weekly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. Now let me filter. Now we got 5 stocks. And all these demand zones, stocks near weekly demand zones, are having weekly EMA confluence demand zones. And the first one is a pierced demand zone. Okay, next, weekly time frame, stocks near weekly supply zone. We have 8 stocks are there. Next, weekly time frame, price closed inside the weekly demand zone. We got a big list, because this includes pierced zones. Obviously we get big list. Okay, I'm scrolling the list down. Those who are looking for pierced zones, look into PIE column. Scrolling the list down. So total 83 stocks are closed inside the weekly demand zone, including some pierced demand zones. Okay, we can further filter this list based on the trend. Weekly demand zones having weekly EMA confluence, and also the trend should be either up or down but not sideways. So in the EMA confluence, weekly time frame, weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence, and the trend on weekly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. From 83 stocks, now list is reduced. First 16 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 20 stocks are filtered. In all these 20 stocks, these weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. And current price is closed inside the weekly zone. Next, weekly time frame. Price closed inside the weekly supply zone. 15 stocks are filtered. Okay, let me further filter this list based on the weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence. So weekly time frame, in the EMA confluence at weekly time frame, weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence, and the trend on weekly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down when you are having EMA confluence. Now 10 stocks. All these 10 stocks are having, supply zones are having weekly EMA confluence. And currently price closed inside the weekly supply zone. And a few supply zones are pierced supply zones as per the pierced count. Okay, because today is end of the week, we will also generate some more additional weekly reports. Next, weekly time frame. Let us find the tested weekly zones, demand zones during this week. Tested weekly, the stocks having tested weekly demand zones. So very big list we have. Good number of demand zones are tested during this week. I am scrolling the list down. First 16 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 47 weekly demand zones are tested during this week. Okay, next, for weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having tested weekly supply zones during this week. These 9 stocks having the supply zones are tested during this week. So that means more demand zones are tested during this week. But supply zones are very few. Okay, next let us identify newly created zones during this week. For weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having the newly created weekly demand zones. So these 4 stocks are having newly created weekly demand zones. Next, for weekly time frame, Let us find the stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. Oh my God. So many supply zones created, weekly supply zones during this week. For 11 indices, weekly supply zones are created. Out of 17 indices, 11 indices, Nifty Bank, Nifty Financial Services, Nifty Mid Cap Select, all three are there in F&O. Next, Nifty Healthcare, Nifty Media, Nifty Metal, Nifty Pharma, Nifty Private Bank, Nifty PSU Bank, Nifty Reality, Nifty Next 50. This is also there in F&O. You may ask a question, what will happen? Newly created means new supplies are created, supply. Unless these supplies are violated, moving further up is not possible. There is a possibility these supply zones may prevent the price direction moving upwards. They may push the market further down. That is one possibility. Another possibility is also there. These newly created supply zones will be violated and market trend will be changed. So that's why the observation is very important to understand the direction of the market during this coming week. Okay. So many stocks it seems. See the scroll bar. It's a very big gap. Anyway, first 15 stocks you are seeing in this list. I am scrolling the list down. $83 stocks are having newly created supply zones out of 240 stocks, including 17 indices. All these are all F&O list, except 4 or 5 indices. Remaining all are equity stocks. In this list, you have 83 stocks newly supply zone created. In this, many in Nifty 50 stocks might be available. Tata Power, Tata Steel, Tata Chemical, Sun Pharma, Siemens, all these are SB, State Bank, SAIL. All these are all there in Nifty 50. They might have, because of these new supply zones, that means a new lot of supply is there during this week. Nifty is also down most of the time during this week. Okay, this is about newly created weekly supply zones. Next, we will filter weekly zones based on the zone confluence and EMA confluence also. That is, weekly zones having a monthly zone confluence and together with a quarterly zone confluence, such kind of reports. If you consider weekly is your entry zone, so LTF, ITF, HTF, that means weekly, monthly, quarterly confluence, such kind of zones. So entry time frame is weekly. So let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF zone confluence supported stocks in the demand zone. First, let us look for demand zone. So we have weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. Next, weekly demand zone with quarterly demand zone confluence filter also I am enabling. And weekly demand zone with half yearly demand zone confluence filter also I am enabling. With all the three filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, confluence, we got 11 stocks. In these 11 stocks, weekly zone is part of the monthly zone, both together again part of the quarterly zone. So such kind of combination we got 11 stocks. Out of these 11, further we can filter based on the EMA Confluence, because weekly and monthly zones are part of the quarterly. So quarterly EMA Confluence you can verify. In the EMA Confluence at quarterly time frame, quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA Confluence. Obviously trend on quarterly should not be sideways. It can be up or down. So let me filter. We got 6 stocks. That way, these are all some kind of a little more high probability compared to the other related setups. And moreover, within this list, some stocks could be high liquidity zones. Always weekly zones. Always look into the zone column to find high liquidity zones. In this list, you have 2 high liquidity zones. So this kind of setups might be helping you to plan your trades in a much better way. Okay, next, let us look for supply zone confluence. So for weekly time frame, in the supply zone confluence, weekly, monthly and quarterly zone confluence, 3 filters I have to set. First filter is weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence, weekly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence, and also monthly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, supply zone confluence filter. We got 6 stocks. In all these 6 stocks, these weekly supply zones are part of the monthly supply zone. Again, both together part of the quarterly supply zone. Such kind of combination. Okay, out of these 6 stocks, because the weekly and monthly together part of the quarterly, let us verify how many quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence from this list. So in the EMA confluence, at quarterly time frame, I am setting the filter quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence, and now we got 3 stocks. These are the more high probability trade setup. Weekly supply zones, these 3 supply zones. Out of these 3, IGL is a pierced weekly supply zone. Already 3 times might be having a new orders inside the zone. Please start practicing lesson 28 concept, pierced zones. It might be helping you finding new order flows. It might be helping you finding the traps or maybe lower time frame origins. All the 3 strategies I have explained in lesson 28. Okay, this is about a weekly time frame. Now let us get into next time frame, daily. Entry time frame, daily. Let us find the stocks near daily demand zone. So total we got 18 stocks. Okay, for daily time frame, for us most important thing is finding the high liquidity zones for the strategy you learned in lesson 21. For that HLQ zone strategy, we need daily high liquidity zones. Let us identify them. Angel 1 is having a high liquidity zone. Bullish is having a high liquidity zone. Jubilant Food is having a high liquidity zone. Naukri is having a high liquidity zone, but this is the all-time high daily high liquidity zone. And State Bank is having a high liquidity zone. I remember earlier State Bank is having a pierced zone. Maybe a new zone might have been created. Or maybe the pierced zone State Bank would have been completely violated. Either thing would have happened. It could have been the next demand zone. Because this is a 21.3. That means previously we discussed State Bank of India pierced zone might have been completely violated. Two possibilities. Or this demand zone might be LOTL zone to the earlier violated zone. That possibility also might be there. Please check in your charts. But whatever it is, this is not a pierced one. So total we identified 4 high liquidity zones, right? This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 high liquidity zones. So total 5 high liquidity zones we have from the daily time frame. Next, for daily time frame, let us find the stocks near daily supply zone. So 7 stocks are filtered. Let us identify high liquidity daily supply zones from this list. Nifty IT, it is not listed in F&O, so it is not useful to us. For F&O trading point of view, it is not useful. Yeah, IRCTC is having a high liquidity supply zone. That's it. We have one high liquidity daily supply zone from this list. Okay, next. Daily time frame. Let us find the stocks where price closed inside the daily demand zone. This includes pierced zones closed inside the zone. Because from today onwards, I am not separately filtering the pierced zones. They will be there in the existing report. By looking to the pierced column, you need to find while scanning. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. See, why I am not selecting all the pierced zones is, say maybe your price might be somewhere in between the zones. It is waste of your time. Immediate opportunities you get when you look into stocks near demand and supply zones, and also price closed inside the demand and supply zones, you get immediate trade opportunity. Probably the next trading day itself you get the opportunity. So that your focus will be on this, because if you are listing pierced zones, we are getting a very big list. Focusing your time in all the stocks and wasting your time, it really is not efficient. Always we have to grab immediate opportunities, not the opportunities you get after 1 week or after 1 month. So that's the reason why I am focusing on stocks near demand and supply zones or price closed inside the demand and supply zones. That way it will be useful to you. Hope this makes sense. In case if you feel the other zones also required, please let me know. I don't mind to generate them. The other zones means zones which are not near to the demand zone or not near to the supply zone. They are far. Okay, I am scrolling the list down for your reference purpose. So totally 99 stocks are filtered, price closed inside the demand zone. That includes pierced demand zones. We can further list based on list by setting the high probability parameter EMA Confluence. So I am going to set the EMA Confluence on this filtered list. So in the EMA Confluence, at a daily time frame, I am selecting daily demand zones having daily EMA Confluence. While setting EMA Confluence, the trend should not be sideways on daily time frame. It can be up or down. So let me filter further. See, now the list from 99 stocks, the list is come down to 12 stocks. This includes some of the pierced zones. So inside the pierced zone, inside. For some high liquidity zones, it may not be showing inside pierced zone. That you can identify from this column, PIE column. Okay. Next, for daily time frame, let's find the stocks where price closed inside the daily supply zone. Now total 18 stocks are filtered. First 15 stocks in the list. This list includes some of the pierced zones as well. Pierced supply zones. Currently price closed inside the supply zone. Of course, some demand zones also might be pierced. But current price is not closed inside them. Our focus is on the supply zones. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. So total 18 stocks are filtered, where price closed inside the supply zone, daily supply zone. Out of these 18, how many of these supply zones are having daily EMA Confluence? Let's set the EMA filter on daily time frame, daily supply zone having daily EMA Confluence. And the trend on daily time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. Let's filter. We got only 3 stocks. Out of these 3 supply zones, third one is already pierced. Okay, this is about a daily time frame. Next time frame is 125 minutes. Stocks near 125 minutes demand zone. We got 16 stocks. First 15 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 16 stocks are filtered. Next, 125 minutes time frame. Stocks near 125 minutes supply zone. 2 stocks are filtered. Next time frame is 75 minutes. Entry time frame 75 minutes. Let us find the stocks near 75 minutes demand zone. 9 stocks are filtered. Let us identify high liquidity 75 minutes demand zones. From this list, they are useful for our HLQ zone strategy learned in lesson 21. So IPCL Labs is having a high liquidity 75 minutes demand zone. IRB is having the high liquidity zone. Zomato you can't take, it is pierced zone. That means we have only 2 valid high liquidity 75 minutes demand zones from this list. Okay. Because Zomato is a high liquidity zone and already pierced 2 times, maybe look into the below the demand zone whether it is having any bear trap or it might be having LTF zone as an horizon to this 75 minute zone. Such kind of setup you can look for. That is pierced zone strategy, not HLQ zone strategy. That way you can look, you can analyze Zomato. Okay, next for 75 minutes time frame, Stocks near 75-minute supply zone. We got 7 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity supply zones from this list. Dalmia Bharat is having a high liquidity supply zone, but its demand zone is pierced twice. That's it. We have only 1 stock from this list. Still pierced zones point of view, you can look into this demand zone because this is a high liquidity zone, already pierced twice. Maybe you might be finding a trap, or you might be finding a zone having lower time frame zone horizon, or even new order flows also might be there because it is more than once it is pierced. Sometimes if the price is still moving at the without moving up and not created the new order flows, you might be looking into the traps or lower time frame horizon. Okay, this is about 75-minute supply zone, 1 high liquidity zone we identified from this list. Okay, this is about 75 minutes. Next time frame is 25 minutes. Stocks near 25 minutes demand zone. 8 stocks are filtered. Next 25 minutes time frame. Stocks near 25 minutes supply zone. 7 stocks are filtered. Okay, the next time frame is 15 minutes. Stocks near 15 minutes demand zone. We got 11 stocks. Let us further filter this list based on the LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. So in the demand zone confluence, I am setting the filter 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. ITF demand zone confluence. 10 stocks are having. In these 10 stocks, this 15 minutes demand zone is part of the 75 minutes demand zone. And a couple of these demand zones are pierced, you can ignore them. Because list is even bigger, let us set one more filter also, LTF, ITF, HTF. All the 3 filters we will set. First filter is already enabled. That is 15 with 75 is already enabled. Second filter 15 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. Third filter 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. Let us find any stocks. Yeah, 4 stocks we got. In that you can ignore the second one, it is already pierced. What exactly this list? These 15 minute zones are part of the 75, both together again part of the daily zone. So these are such kind of stocks. Okay. You may ask a question, anyway we are filtering such kind of stocks in bullish and bearish trade setups. True, you are right. But why we are filtering these stocks is, some of these stocks may support sideways trend, some of these stocks may support counter trend trade setups. For those people, these stocks will be useful. But most of you people are aware of bullish and bearish trade setup. You will be using those reports in our DIT next reports, upcoming reports. But these are all for experienced people who are using supply demand zone for the last 6-7 years, and they are preparing their own bullish, counter trend trade setups or sideways trade setups. For them they will be useful. But remember, for you are beginners, recently completed courses, and you are getting now good control on the system. So your focus should not be against the trend. Planning trades against the trend might disturb your understanding skills. Once you get experience, once I teach the other concepts, at the time you can focus on these stocks and how better you can make use of them. Not only that, when you are analyzing any of your favorite stocks are there, how they are currently, that understanding also you will get by seeing these reports. I am not saying these reports are useful to only experienced people. For you also, they are useful. for the reference purpose. Okay, next for 15 minutes time frame. Stocks near 15 minutes, stocks near 15 minutes supply zone. We got 3 stocks. Out of these 3, any of the stocks are having ITF Confluence. Let us verify. That is 15 minute supply zone with 75 minute supply zone. Enable the filter. So one stock, this supply zone is having ITF Confluence. Okay, next time frame is 5 minutes. Stocks near 5 minutes demand zone. We got 6 stocks. Let's verify out of these 6, any of the stocks are having ITF demand zone confluence. That is 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling this filter. Now list is come down to 4. In this 4, the second one is already, the supply is already pierced the demand zone. Earlier it tested 5 times. So these 5 minutes, all these 5 minutes demand zones are part of the 15 minutes demand zone. You can ignore the second one, supply, it is a pierced 5 minutes zone. Okay, next 5 minutes time frame. Stocks near 5 minutes supply zone. We got 17 stocks. So first 15 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 17 stocks are there. Okay, now let me filter these stocks based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. That is 5 minutes and 15 minutes supply zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. We got 9 stocks. In all these 9 stocks, these 5 minute supply zones are part of the 15 minute supply zones. I think couple of stocks are pierced. You can ignore them, the supply zones. Okay, now let us further filter this list based on, because it is a big list, LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence from this list. So 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, 5 minutes with 15 minutes. Second filter 15 minutes, 5 minutes supply zone with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. And then 15 minutes supply zone with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, we got only 1 stock. So that means this 5 minute zone is part of the 15 minute zone. Both together part of the 75 minute supply zone. Maybe that is the reason why this zone is strong, already tested once. Okay, this is about stocks near demand and supply zones for different time frames. Also identify daily and 75 minutes high liquidity zones. So the next set of reports are about Nifty and Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. I am generating monthly supply demand zone chain for Nifty. So this is a Nifty monthly supply demand zone chain. So in supply demand zone chain reports, in all the reports, always look into the zone column to find high liquidity zones. Look into the pierced column to find the pierced zones. Always look into the LTF trend to find the trend of the current time frame you have selected. And one time frame higher, ITF trend. One more time frame higher, HTF. That way you can understand. Also don't forget to pause the video when you are moving from one report to another report, because I am giving you only few seconds time. Okay, next, weekly supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 125 minutes supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 75 minutes supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 25 minutes supply demand zone chain for Nifty. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for Nifty. All these are all supply zones. You have only few demand zones. So I am scrolling the list down. Now you have more demand zones. Okay, next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for Nifty. All these are all supply zones. So to get demand zones, I am scrolling the list down. So this is the recently available demand zone. Above you have supply zones, below you have demand zones. Okay. So this is about, in case more demand zones you want, I'll further scroll the list down. Okay, this is about Nifty supply demand zone chain. Next, let me generate Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. First, monthly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, weekly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 125 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 75 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 25 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. All these are all supply zones. To get the demand zones, I am scrolling the list down. From 33, you have all the demand zones. So this is about, maybe I can keep in the middle. All these are all supply zones and demand zones. This is the latest supply zone and the latest demand zone. That is the way we have to understand. See, all these are all in an order. So this is about Bank Nifty. Next we will generate bullish and bearish trade setups for monthly, weekly and daily income trades. First, bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry time frame is daily. Entry zone is demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at a daily time frame, because this is the entry time frame, I am selecting the value bullish. The meaning is we are instructing the software generate bullish trade setup on the entry time frame daily. That is nothing but monthly income trade. Okay, now for this daily demand zone, you need to set 3 filters. First, we don't want piercer zones, but daily I am generating because any of you wants to use piercer zone strategies, daily time frame, they will be useful to you. So that's why daily time frame I am including even piercer zones. But in general, we set 3 filters. We don't want pierced daily demand zones, and we want a zone achievement should be violated opposing zone, and we want a minimum odd enhancer score greater than or equals to 12, and all those 3 filters we have to apply only on daily demand zone. Suppose if you don't select demand zone, if I select any, the meaning is those filters can be applied to either demand zone or supply zone, either one is satisfied. But the filter should be strictly only to the demand zone. That's why we are selecting demand zone. Okay, for daily time frame, I am including even piercer zones because you learned piercer strategy in lesson 28. They might be helpful to you. And those who don't want to use piercer zones, you anyway in the report pierced count, you know the pierced count. If the pierced count is not 0, you can ignore them. Okay, so I am setting zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score is 12. Now only 2 filters are set for daily time frame. Now let's filter. We got 13 stocks. See, in all these 13 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Check any of these demand zones are pierced demand zones. Not see, this is a pierced GNFC. Still it is supporting bullish trade setup. That means after piercing the zone, prices again moved up. Trend is changed. Might have violated a supply zone. Institutions might have created a new order flows. Those new order flows you may use. Based on pierced zone strategy, you have to trade. So you have one more zone, that is Tata Chemical is also a pierced zone. See, what does it mean? After pierced zone, trend will be changed. But still trend is up means maybe a supply zone is again violated and trend is changed back. That means in these pierced zones, institutions might have added new order flows. So those who wants to trade based on the pierced zones, for them these 2 stocks will be helpful. But you are a few trades, you don't want to use pierced zones, you can ignore these 2 stocks. But those who are convinced with pierced zone strategies and you want to get good opportunities from those zones, you have to apply the 3rd strategy that you learn. Not only 3rd, sometimes if this zone is pierced, you might be having a traps below the zone, or you might be having a LTF zone to the daily zone. Anything might be there. You have learned 3 strategies. You have to apply all the 3 strategies every time. So that is the way the pierced zones will be helpful, because I am not filtering pierced zones from daily time frame. That means monthly income trade. 75 minutes, why I am filtering is 75 minutes time frame. Use pierced zones only for high liquidity zones. Don't apply for everything. They may not be much effective compared to daily, monthly and weekly related pierced zones. Below time frames are not much effective unless 75 minute zones are high liquidity pierced zones. Okay. So this is bullish trade setup. These 13 stocks are supporting monthly income trade, and entry time frame is daily demand zones. All these are all daily demand zones. And out of these 13, all these daily demand zones, some are even already high probability zones based on high liquidity zones. Some are high liquidity zones. But we can further filter this list based on zone confluence also. What you learned in lesson 27. The strategies you learn in zone confluence, LTF and ITF strategy and LTF, ITF, HTF confluence strategy. Both we have to use. So first we are going to filter based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence, and then further filter the 13 stocks. So I am adding the filter daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. Daily is LTF, weekly is ITF. So that's why daily demand zone having confluence with weekly demand zone. I enabled the filter. This filter is applied to the 13 stocks we filtered earlier. Now from 13 the list is come down to 10 stocks. In these 10 stocks, these daily demand zones are part of the weekly demand zone. They are part of weekly. They are overlapped with weekly. Because daily is part of the weekly, if you look for weekly demand zone with weekly EMA confluence, you may get even more high probability trade setup supported zones. You can filter those stocks. Why EMA confluence gives? Because the trend on the weekly time frame is up in all these stocks. Weekly is ITF. Moreover, daily zone is part of the weekly zone. That's why weekly demand zone with weekly EMA confluence will result even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence, weekly time frame, weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Now let us filter the stocks further. From the stocks earlier 10 stocks were filtered. From 10, this EMA filter further reduced to 6. And these 6 stocks are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Because the daily zone is part of the weekly zone, and weekly zone is having weekly EMA confluence. All these are all daily zones only because the entry time frame is daily. But these daily zones are even more high probability because they are part of the weekly, and that weekly is having weekly EMA confluence. So this is the first filter, LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. Second filter is LTF, ITF and HTF demand zone confluence. Latter HTF EMA confluence you can look for. This is ITF EMA confluence based. So that's why I am removing this ITF EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence, let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. So 3 filters we have to set. First filter is a daily with weekly zone confluence, already we enabled. Second filter is a daily demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. Third filter is a weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence, we got 2 stocks. That means in these 2 stocks, these daily demand zones are part of the weekly demand zone, and both together again part of the monthly demand zone. And monthly trend is up in both these stocks. If any of these stocks are having monthly EMA confluence, that stock is even more high probability trade setup supported stock. So let's verify. Don't forget Tata Chemical is a pierced zone. So in the EMA Confluence at monthly time frame, because daily zone together with weekly zone are part of the monthly zone. That's why we are setting monthly demand zone having monthly EMA Confluence. These strategies I have explained in lesson 27. So we got a stock which is a pierced zone. Many people ignore this stock, but this has been filtered. But you need to trade this stock if you want to trade as per pierced zone strategies concepts that you learned in lesson 28. Okay, this is about bullish trade setup, monthly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup, monthly income trade. Entry time frame is daily, but this time entry zone is supply zone because it is bearish trade setup. All the filters should be applied to daily supply zones. Earlier we applied to daily demand zones. Now, because we changed the value, filters will be applied to supply zone. Okay, and also in bullish or bearish trade setup, we have to inform our software, generate only daily time frame bearish trade setups. That means monthly income trade, because entry time frame is daily. This parameter talks only about daily entry time frame zone. Depending on that, automatically software assumes whether it is a monthly time frame or weekly time frame or MIT or WIT or DIT or HIT. Based on what you select here, that determines automatically. Software is having the kind of intelligence. So that's why we are setting daily time frame bearish. Now instead of 3 filters, we will add only 2 filters, because the daily time frame I am keeping pierced zones in the list. So I am adding the filter zone achievement as a violated opposing zone, and minimum odd enhancers should be 12, and these filters are applied to daily supply zone. Let's filter. We got only 2 stocks. Currently, these 2 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for monthly income trade, and entry time frame is daily. Have you noticed Bandhan Bank is not having a demand zone? That means this is an all-time high supply zone, daily supply zone. Sorry, not all-time high, sorry for my mistake. All-time low is the right word. So this is the all-time low supply zone. All-time high should be applied only for demand zones. All-time low should be applied to supply zones. So this is an all-time low supply zone. That means all the daily demand zones are violated. No more daily demand zones available for Bandhan Bank so far, unless institutions create a new demand zones in the coming days. Okay, these 2 are supply zones. Now let us verify any of these zones are having a ITF supply zone confluence. Anyway, first one is already a high probability based on high liquidity zone, but we can further filter based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. That is a daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. That means daily zone should be part of the weekly zone. So both the stocks are filtered. That means both these daily supply zones are part of the weekly supply zone. That means overlapped with weekly supply zone. Now let us identify how many of these weekly supply zones are having weekly EMA confluence, because daily is part of weekly and weekly trend is down. So in the EMA confluence at a weekly time frame, because the daily supply zone is part of the weekly supply zone, so I am setting the filter weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence. With this filter, we did not get any stock, so that means none of the zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Not a problem. Let us remove this EMA filter. Without EMA, we got 2 stocks. That means LTF zone is part of ITF zone. Now let us verify those two stocks are any of them are having even HTF confluence. That is monthly supply zone confluence. So in the supply zone confluence, we should set three filters. First filter, daily with weekly supply zone confluence, is already enabled. Second filter, daily supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence, and also weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. The meaning is daily supply zone is part of the weekly supply zone, both together part of the monthly supply zone. Now let's filter the stocks. So we don't have any HTF zone confluence supported stocks. LTF, ITF, HTF. So this is about bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Okay, next let us look for bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. That is entry time frame 75 minutes demand zones. So entry time frame is 75 minutes. Entry zone is demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes entry time frame, I am selecting bullish. And the next we are going to set three filters. First filter, those three filters will be applied to 75 minutes demand zone. So the first filter is these 75 minutes demand zones should not be pierced. So that's why in the pierced count parameter, look into this parameter pierced count. In this parameter at entry time frame 75 minutes, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count should be 0. Pierced count 0 means the zone is not pierced. Which zone? The 75 minutes demand zone. Because this filter is applied to 75 minutes demand zone. Second filter is a violated opposing zone. This filter also applied to 75 minutes demand zone. Third filter is a minimum odd enhanced score is 12. Even this filter is also applied to 75 minutes demand zone. Now all the three filters are applied to 75 minutes demand zone. Now let's filter the stocks. We got 11 stocks. All these 11 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for weekly income trade, and entry time frame zone is 75 minutes demand zone. All these demand zones are 75 minutes demand zones. Okay, some of these 75 minutes demand zones are already having high probability based on high liquidity zones. But we can further filter the stocks by adding some more high probability parameters based on the zone confluence and later EMA confluence. So we are going, as per the lesson 27 concepts, you will be using two filters. One is LTF and ITF, and another one is LTF, ITF, HTF. And each filters later we will apply even EMA confluence as per those strategies. Okay, first let us filter these stocks by adding the high probability parameter LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. So in the demand zone confluence, I am enabling the filter 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence, because 75 minutes is LTF zone and daily is ITF zone. That's why LTF, ITF demand zone confluence for weekly income trade. This filter is enabled. Now let's further filter the stocks. Now list is having 10 stocks. In all these 10 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the weekly demand zone. Daily demand zone. I repeat, these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone. That means they are overlapped with the daily demand zone. And the daily trend is up in all these stocks. ITF trend is daily. Because the trend is up, now you can apply EMA Confluence on the daily time frame. Why daily? Because 75 minutes demand zone is part of the daily demand zone. So let us set the filter EMA Confluence on daily time frame, daily demand zone having daily EMA Confluence. With this filter, now the list is come down to 6 stocks. And these 6 are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Because these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone, and the daily demand zone is having daily EMA Confluence, and the daily trend is up in all these stocks. Okay. Next filter is LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. So I am removing EMA filter because this is applied to only LTF, ITF confluence. Now we are looking for LTF, ITF, HTF confluence. So 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, 75 minutes zone with daily demand zone confluence. Second filter is 75 minutes demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. This is HTF confluence, LTF, HTF. Next, ITF, HTF confluence, daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, now we get LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence filtered stocks. We got 6 stocks. In all these 6 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are part of the daily demand zone. Both together again part of the weekly demand zone. And the weekly trend is up in all these stocks. So if you apply weekly EMA confluence to the weekly demand zones, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Because 75 minute zone together with daily zone is part of the weekly zone, weekly demand zone. So that's why we are setting the filter EMA confluence on the weekly time frame with weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence. And weekly trend is also up in all the stocks. Now we got 4 stocks. So these 4 stocks are even more high probability trade setup supported 75 minutes entry time frame zones. And moreover, some of these zones are even high liquidity zones. So this is about bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Entry time frame is 75 minutes. Entry zone is supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup, at 75 minutes entry time frame, I am selecting bearish. Now we need to set 3 filters on 75 minute supply zone. First filter is 75 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So that's why in the pierced count parameter at 75 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means 75 minute supply zone should not be pierced because pierced count should be 0. And zone achievement 75 minute supply zone should be having violated opposing zone achievement. And also 75 minute supply zone should have a minimum odd enhancer score 12 or above. That's why all the 3 filters are applied to 75 minute supply zone. So with these parameters, let us filter the stocks. We got 12 stocks. Currently all these 12 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. And entry time frame zones are 75 minute supply zones. All these entry zones are 75 minute supply zones. Of course, demand zones are only target zones for booking the profits. Okay, out of these 12 75 minute supply zones, there are some high probabilities supported supply zones based on the high liquidity zone. Apart from that, we should also add the additional filters based on the zone confluence. The first filter is LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. That is 75-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. I am enabling this filter. With this filter, now the list is come down to 7 stocks. In these 7 stocks, these 75-minute supply zones are part of the daily supply zone. That means overlapped with daily supply zone. Because 75 is part of the daily, if you look for daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence, there can be even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. And also the daily trend is down in all these stocks, downtrend. So let's verify, let's filter based on EMA confluence now on the daily time frame, because 75-minute supply zone is part of the daily supply zone, and now daily supply zone we are looking for daily EMA confluence. Let's filter. We got 1 stock. So this is even more high probability trade setup supported stock. Okay. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence. So this is already tested. See, probably last few days reports, if you look, this might be listed and it is already tested and heading towards the demand zone. So next one is LTF, ITF, HTF confluence. So I am removing the EMA filter. This is applied only for LTF, ITF combination. LTF, ITF, HTF combination we use weekly confluence. But before that, we should filter LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. For that, we should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, 75-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Second filter is 75-minute supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. Third filter is daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, supply zone confluence, we did not get any stocks. Fine. So this is about a bearish trade setup for a weekly income trade. So next, let us generate daily income trade reports. So bullish trade setup for daily income trade, entry time frame is 15 minutes, entry zone is a demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at a daily time frame, at a 15 minutes time frame, this is the entry time frame, because our entry time frame DIT trade setup daily income trade, it should be 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes I am selecting bullish. Okay. Now let us apply filters to 3 filters to 15 minutes demand zone. First filter is pierced zones. Zone 15 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So that's why in the pierced count at 15 minutes time frame, the minimum value should be 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count is 0. That means zone is not pierced when you set this filter. Zone achievement is a violated opposing zone. Minimum odd and enhancer score 12. And all 3 filters are applied to 15 minutes demand zone. Let's filter the stocks. We got 5 stocks. And these 5 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for daily income trade, and entry time frame is 15 minutes demand zones. All these demand zones are 15 minutes demand zones. Out of these 5 15 minutes demand zones, there are some already high probability zones based on high liquidity zones. Apart from that, we can further filter based on this zone confluence also. Okay. First filter is LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. Let us filter the stocks. So in the demand zone Confluence, I am setting the filter 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone Confluence. That is LTF is 15, ITF is 75 minutes zone. That's why it is a LTF, ITF demand zone Confluence filter. Now we got 3 stocks. So in these 3 stocks, from 5 the list is come down to 3. That means in these 3 stocks, these 5 minutes demand zones, all 3 are high liquidity zones. They are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. These 15 minutes demand zones are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. And 75 minutes trend is up in all the 3 stocks. And if any of these 3 stocks are having the 75 minutes demand zone with the daily EMA Confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA Confluence, at 75 minutes time frame, 75 minutes demand zone having daily EMA Confluence, filter is enabled. With this filter, we got 2 stocks. These 2 are even more high probability trade setup supported zones. Okay, so this is as per LTF, ITF and its EMA Confluence. Next, let us look for LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone Confluence. So I am removing this ITF EMA filter. Now in the demand zone Confluence, I should set 3 filters. First filter is 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone Confluence, which is already enabled. And second filter is a 15 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone Confluence. Third filter is 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone Confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone Confluence, we got 2 stocks. In these 2 stocks, these daily demand zones are part of the sorry for the mistake. These 2 15 minutes demand zones are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. Again, both together part of the daily demand zone. And daily trend is up in all the stocks. Because 75 and 15 minutes and 75 minutes zones together part of the daily zone. If daily demand zone is having daily EMA, because the trend is also uptrend, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA Confluence at a daily time frame, because 15 minutes entry time frame together with 75 minutes zone is part of the daily zone. That's why I am setting the filter daily demand zone having daily EMA Confluence. With this filter, we got 1 stock. So this daily demand zone is even more high probability trade setup supported demand zone. So this is about bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for daily income trade. Entry time frame is 15 minutes. Entry zone should be supply zone. And also in bullish or bearish trade setup parameter, at 15 minutes entry time frame, I have to select bearish. Now we need to set 3 filters on 15 minutes supply zone. First filter, these 15 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So that's why in the pierced count parameter, at 15 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means we are filtering the stocks not having pierced zones. Next one is violated opposing zone. Third filter is a minimum odd enhancer score should be 12. All 3 filters are applied to 15 minute supply zone. Now let's filter. We got 14 stocks. Currently these 14 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for daily income trade. And entry time frame zones are 15 minutes supply zones. So in all these 14 stocks, these 15 minute supply zones are entry zones. The light red color marked zones are supply zones. They are the entry zones. And the demand zones are target zones. That is profit booking zones. Okay, out of these 14 stocks, There are some high probability setup supply zones. They are already high liquidity zone, some of these stocks. But apart from that, we should further filter. We can further filter these stocks based on the zone confluence. So first filter is LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. Because this is bearish trade setup, we should look for supply zone confluence. So the LTF ITF supply zone confluence is nothing but 15-minute supply zone with 75-minute supply zone confluence. So I enable the filter. With this filter, from 15 stocks, the list is come down to 10 stocks. In all these 10 stocks, these 15 minutes supply zones are part of the 75-minute supply zone. That means they are overlapped with 75-minute supply zone. And 75 minutes is nothing but ITF. ITF trend is down in all these stocks. Because 15-minute supply zone is part of 75-minute supply zone, if 75-minute supply zone is having daily EMA confluence, those stocks are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, let us look for 75-minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence. With this filter, we got 2 stocks. So these 2 supply zones are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Okay, this is based on LTF, ITF and ITF EMA confluence. Next, we should look for LTF, ITF and HTF and HTF EMA confluence. So for that, I have to remove this ITF EMA confluence, remove the filter. In the supply zone confluence, I should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, that is 15-minute supply zone with 75-minute supply zone confluence. Second filter is a 15-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Third filter is 75-minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence, we got 5 stocks. In all these 5 stocks, these 15-minute supply zones are part of this 75-minute supply zone. Again, both together part of the daily supply zone. And the daily trend is down in all these stocks except the 5th one. So we can ignore the 5th one. And remaining 4 stocks, if any of those stocks are having daily EMA confluence, they are even more high probability trade setup supported stocks. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame. Why daily? Because the entry time frame 15-minute zone is part of the 75-minute zone. Again, both together part of the daily zone. That's why we are looking for daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence. Because it is a bearish trade setup and we are looking for daily EMA confluence, the trend on daily time frame should not be sideways. It can be downtrend because bearish trade setup. So let's filter the stocks. We got 1 stock. So this is even more high probability trade setup supported supply zone. So this is a bearish trade setup for daily income trade. And in the final report, let us generate stop buffers based on daily ATR. So first 17 in this list are indices, remaining all are equity stocks. So I keep on scrolling the list down. Whichever the stock you want to refer, there you pause the video. After that you can proceed. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. So this is the end of the report. Hope this information will be useful to you for your further study and analysis. Let us all meet again in our next video. Thank you.